I paid nearly $16,000 to fund my sister's wedding, and she introduced me to her fiancé's family as the nanny. That one sentence cracked open years of quiet humiliation and pushed me past my limit. What happened next shocked everyone and changed our family forever. I'm Callie, 29, and I've spent the last 2 hours staring at my phone, watching it buzz nonstop while my family calls me cruel, selfish, and my personal favorite, a drama queen with an inferiority complex. So, here's my side. First, some context. I have vitiligo, the skin condition that causes pigment to disappear in patches. Mine started when I was 13, mostly around my eyes, forehead, and upper cheeks. I've made peace with it now, but back then? It was the worst thing you could have in a family obsessed with appearance. My family looks like they stepped out of a J.Crew ad. My sister Chelsea, 33, has always been the favorite, homecoming queen, sorority girl, beauty pageant finalist, all that sparkly stuff. My brother Brandon, 31, runs a chain of fitness centers and drives a car that costs more than my student loans. Then there's me. The quirky one. The one my mom still can't refer to as having vitiligo without whispering it like a dirty word. Family photos? Nightmare fuel. I was either shoved behind someone taller or caked in foundation so thick I looked like a wax figure melting under the flash. My mom once told me I looked brave when I decided to stop wearing cover-up. Brave. Like I was showing up to war. So yeah, my self-esteem was built on a wobbly foundation of blush and backhanded compliments. Still, I managed to turn out okay. I work in brand strategy at a tech firm. I have a decent apartment in Charlotte, and I've saved enough that when Chelsea got engaged to her old money boyfriend Ethan, I offered to help. Why? Because Chelsea cried. She called me sobbing, saying she didn't want Ethan's family to think she couldn't contribute financially. She begged me to match his parents' contributions so she wouldn't look like a leech. I covered deposits for the venue, florist, caterer, photographer, and DJ. To be exact, $5,000 for the venue, $3,400 for catering, $2,700 for photography, $2,000 for flowers, and $2,800 for the DJ. I should have known better. Chelsea has never treated me like an equal. In high school, she told people I was adopted. She once told her boyfriend I was a distant cousin when I showed up to pick her up from a party. So maybe I should have expected what happened at the dinner. Last Friday, she insisted I attend a fancy pre-wedding dinner with Ethan's family. I thought it might be a gesture, a thank you for everything I'd done. I got my hair done, wore a $250 dress I'd been saving, and arrived early to the upscale steakhouse where Ethan's parents had booked a private room. The moment I walked in, the vibe was off. Chelsea barely acknowledged me. My mom gave me that tight smile she saves for waitstaff and mall employees. My dad looked like he wanted to crawl into the wine list. Then Ethan's mom walked over, tall, silver blonde pearls, and looked at me like I was a misplaced coat. "And you are?" she asked, genuinely confused. Before I could open my mouth, Chelsea swooped in and chirped. "Oh, this is Callie. She helps Brandon with his twins. She's like our family nanny." My heart literally skipped. I forgot how to breathe for a second. The nanny. I looked down at my dress, my heels, the clutch in my hand. Not exactly playroom-ready attire. I opened my mouth to correct her, but then my mother flashed me that look. The "don't embarrass us" look I've been trained to obey since childhood. It got worse. Dinner started, and instead of setting a seat for me at the main table, with Ethan's parents, Chelsea, my own family, I was directed to a side table with 3 fidgety kids. My mom smiled and said, "Callie, be a dear and help the little ones with their dinner." I sat at the kids' table. While my family laughed over wine and surf and turf, a 6-year-old named Emma asked if she could pet my face. Then the waiter came. He leaned down, tray in hand, and asked, "Will the nanny be having the adult meal or the kids' menu tonight?" That's when I knew. She didn't just lie to Ethan's family. Chelsea had told the entire restaurant staff that I was the nanny. I sat there frozen. I've learned to keep quiet, decades of practice. But this time? This time, I stood up. I walked to the main table, heels clicking like gunfire. I could feel every eye in that room on me as I walked toward the main table. The kind of silence that makes your skin prickle. Chelsea's face drained of color faster than cheap toner. My mom clenched her wine glass so tight I was genuinely waiting for it to shatter. And my dad? Suddenly very fascinated with his bread roll. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. But I made sure I was loud enough. I'm not the nanny, I said calmly, looking straight at Ethan's mom. I'm Chelsea's younger sister. There was a pause, like the whole room hit mute. Ethan blinked slowly like he just misheard me. His dad lowered his fork mid-bite. The kids at the small table stopped stabbing their peas. Chelsea started to laugh, but it came out weird and brittle. Callie, oh my God, stop. You're being... No. I cut her off. Let's be real, Chelsea. You told Ethan's family I was your nanny. You told the waitstaff the same thing. But I'm the sister who paid the $5,000 deposit for your venue. The one who paid for the $3,400 catering. And the $2,700 for the photographer. And don't forget the flowers, $2,000. And of course, $2,800 for that DJ you just had to have. You could have heard a napkin drop. Ethan's mom turned so slowly to look at Chelsea it was almost cinematic. You told us your parents were covering the wedding, she said, voice sharp and low. Chelsea's laugh died in her throat. They are. I mean, well, Callie just wanted to help. Help? I snapped. You erased me from your life while you cashed my checks. You didn't even tell your fiancé I existed. Ethan turned slowly toward her. Wait. You told me you only had one sibling. Just you and Brandon. The lie cracked open right there in front of everyone. Chelsea's eyes welled up instantly, her go-to defense. It's complicated, babe. I was going to tell you. But you didn't, Ethan said, jaw clenched. Because of her skin? Chelsea didn't answer. She didn't have to. The air was thick with what she wouldn't say out loud. My mom suddenly stood. We'll talk about this at home, she said through clenched teeth. Callie, sit down. Don't ruin this dinner. I turned to Ethan. Did you know Chelsea told people I was adopted in high school? That she'd hide me in family photos or crop me out of Instagram posts? Did you know I paid for over half this wedding and she didn't even say thank you? He didn't respond. Just stared at Chelsea like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. I wasn't done. You didn't want a sister with vitiligo, I said directly to Chelsea. You wanted an invisible wallet. You used me to look like you could keep up with Ethan's lifestyle. And when it came time to introduce me, you made me the help. I grabbed my purse from the back of the child's chair, still there, my little punishment throne, and turned to Ethan. Good luck, man. You might want to check what else she's lying about. This one? It's just the tip of the iceberg. As I walked out, Brandon muttered something under his breath. I didn't care enough to listen. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. When I got to my car, my hands were shaking. I sat for a moment, breathing deep. Then I pulled out my phone and started making calls. One by one, I canceled every single vendor I'd paid for. Venue, refunded. Catering, canceled. Photographer, florist, DJ, done, and done. I told each vendor the truth. Most were sympathetic. One woman literally said, "Oh honey, family weddings bring out the devil." By the time I left the parking garage, Chelsea's dream wedding was officially crumbling. The next morning, my phone exploded. First came the group chat. My mom. How could you embarrass your sister like that? Brandon. You're being dramatic. Fix this before it gets worse. My dad. You've always been too emotional. You need to apologize. Not a single message asking if I was okay. Not a single one admitting what Chelsea did was wrong. That's when I knew. They weren't just complicit, they expected this. They'd spent years pretending I didn't exist unless they needed something. So I made sure they got the message. I don't exist to them anymore. And neither does my money. I texted the group chat one last time. Just canceled all wedding reservations I paid for. Don't ask your nanny to fund your fairy tale. Then I'd blocked every one of their numbers. Later that day, I got an email from Chelsea with the subject line, "How could you?" It was one long tantrum blaming me for ruining her life, for destroying everything she worked for. But the last line? That one will stick with me forever. "You could have just worn more makeup if you were so worried about how you looked." There it was. All of it. Boiled down to the one truth that haunted me my whole life. She was ashamed of me. And now she'd have to plan her wedding without the sister she tried so hard to pretend didn't exist. 4 days later, my doorbell rang at noon, and I made the mistake of answering without checking the peephole. There he was. Ethan. Still in the same blazer from that dinner, except now it looked wrinkled and slept in. His eyes had that glassy, sleep-deprived sheen. For a second, I thought maybe he'd shown up to yell at me, to defend Chelsea. But no. His first words were, "Is it true?" He wasn't smiling. "About the money? That you're her sister?" I leaned against the doorframe, suddenly tired. "Yeah. All of it." He stepped back like I'd punched him. "She told me she was an only child until Brandon came along. Said she was raised practically solo." I just nodded. What else was there to say? Chelsea had erased me from her life so completely she had convinced even her fiancé I didn't exist. And Ethan, with all his money and manners and old money charm, had fallen for it. She never said anything. "Not a word," he whispered. "You're her sister. I mean, how do you forget to mention a sister?" "I guess I didn't fit her aesthetic," I said, motioning toward my face. "The spots. The reason they pushed me to the shadows for years." Ethan's expression shifted. "My cousin Mia has vitiligo," he said. "And my aunt. Did she really think I'd care?" I didn't answer. We both knew she did. "You want to come in?" I offered. "I've got coffee, or whiskey." He stepped inside like he was walking through fog. I hadn't cleaned in days. Take-out boxes, a half-eaten bagel on the counter, laundry still warm in the basket, but Ethan didn't flinch. He sat at my little kitchen table like it was a courtroom bench. "I need the full story," he said. "All of it. She's been spinning so many versions I don't know what's real anymore." I poured us both coffee. No creamer. No sugar. Just black. We were in that kind of mood. "She told her family I was the nanny," I began, "because she didn't want to explain my skin to your parents. She told the staff, too. And when I tried to correct it, my mom gave me the same look she always does, 'Don't embarrass us.'" Ethan just stared at me. "She's been lying to you about more than just me," I said gently. "Chelsea didn't go to NYU. She dropped out of community college after 3 semesters. She doesn't run a boutique agency. She works retail at a luxury consignment store and runs their Instagram." I pulled up my banking app and slid my phone across the table. "Here. Scroll through." His face barely moved, but his eyes told the whole story, each swipe another blow to the carefully curated illusion he'd been sold. 15 grand, he muttered. "And she told me her parents paid for everything. She's always let other people do the heavy lifting. She just adds the sparkle." We sat in silence for a bit. The hum of my fridge felt louder than it should have. "I proposed to someone who doesn't even exist," Ethan said finally. "No," I said. "You proposed to a version of Chelsea that only existed in her head." He gave a small, bitter laugh. "My parents are going to love this." I thought that would be the end of it. That Ethan would storm off, call it all off, and disappear from my life for good. But then, he looked at me and said, "I need your help. She's not letting go." And that's when things really spiraled. 2 days later, I was called into an urgent HR meeting at work. Someone had sent a letter, claiming I was mentally unstable, a danger to clients and coworkers, and struggling with serious delusions related to my skin condition. Attached? Screenshots of Diane's private social media posts, tagging mental health awareness accounts, and claiming she had a sister who was battling paranoia and threatening her family. Posts I hadn't even seen because, shocker, she blocked me. But my co-workers had seen. HR had to take it seriously. I explained everything, showed the receipts, the payments, the email from Chelsea that literally said, "You could have just worn more makeup." And they understood, but told me to lawyer up. Just in case. That night I got a call from Ethan. "You need to come with me to my attorney," he said. "We've got a problem." Chelsea had gone behind his back and booked a new venue. Signed a contract in his name. She forged his signature. Over $20,000 in upcoming payments. If it went through, he would be liable. "That's fraud," I said. "I know," he replied. "And she's acting like I'll just go along with it." That was the final nail for him. He filed charges the next day. I filed a cease and desist. My parents? Went ballistic. They left voicemails, emails, even called my office again. My mom told my boss I was suffering from post-traumatic delusions because of my condition. My boss didn't buy it. Neither did HR. Neither did Ethan's lawyer. Chelsea had burned the bridge, and then tried to set fire to the people on it. After Ethan filed the fraud complaint and I sent out the cease and desist letters, I thought maybe, Chelsea and my parents would finally back off. I was wrong. They didn't back off. They went nuclear. 2 days later, I opened my inbox to find an email from an old college friend I hadn't spoken to in years. Subject line: "Hey, are you okay?" Attached was a screenshot from Chelsea's private Instagram story. It was a photo of me from years ago, back when I was still trying to cover my vitiligo with heavy makeup, before I found any pride in who I was. I looked miserable. I remembered the day it was taken. I'd been crying before the picture. She used to call it my clown face. Chelsea's caption? "When your mentally unstable sister tries to ruin your life because she can't handle your happiness. Some people are just born toxic." She tagged a dozen mental health awareness accounts. Her followers were flooding her comments with support. "You're so strong. Family can be the most toxic of all. Cut her off, girl." I felt like I'd been punched in the throat. This wasn't petty. This wasn't sibling drama. This was calculated character assassination. I didn't cry. I didn't throw things. I called Ethan. "She's setting up a narrative," he said immediately. "If she can convince people you're unstable, she can claim the fraud case was emotional manipulation. And it's working," I whispered. "People are starting to believe her." Then we hit back. With facts. That same day, I walked into Ethan's lawyer's office with a flash drive full of screenshots, emails, receipts, every lie, every manipulation, every threat. We drafted a formal defamation warning and sent it to Chelsea and my parents. Why my parents? Because they had joined in. They'd contacted my HR department again. Claimed I was having emotional episodes. They said my condition made me unfit for a client-facing role. Condition. Not vitiligo. Just condition. Like I was a hazard. HR didn't believe them, but the humiliation of having your own parents try to sabotage your livelihood, that cut deeper than anything Chelsea ever did. After the cease and desist landed in their inboxes, things went quiet. Chelsea took down her posts. My parents stopped calling. But I knew that silence wasn't surrender, it was planning. 3 days later, I got a call from Ethan. He sounded shaken. "She booked another venue," he said. "She forged my name again. $23,000. Same wedding date. Same guest list. She thought I'd just show up." I stood in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, sick to my stomach. "Ethan, that's not just fraud anymore. That's delusion. She's unraveling," he said. and my lawyers adding every new charge. As Chelsea's fantasy fell apart, so did the grip she held over my parents. They started calling again, this time with a different tune. Emails. Voicemails. Letters in the mail. One from my mom read, "We need to talk. Not as enemies. As family. Please, no more lawyers. We can fix this." But I wasn't sure I wanted to fix it. Still, for the sake of finality, I agreed to meet them. Ethan came with me, as my witness. We met at a quiet cafe in Greensboro, the same city they used to brag about me never being presentable enough to live in. My dad started in with his usual damage control tone. "These legal actions are tearing us apart. Let's find a way forward." I stared at them. These were the same people who let their daughter lie about me for years. Who watched me sit at the kids' table and called me sensitive for being hurt. "You tore this family apart a long time ago," I said. "I just stopped pretending. My mom tried the guilt trip. We didn't want people to judge you." I shook my head. "The only people who judged me were you. My skin never made me feel ashamed." "You did." They squirmed. Then my dad said, "What do you want from us?" I didn't hesitate. A public apology, on social media. A retraction letter to my job. And therapy. All of you. Family therapy. You need to understand why this was ever okay to you. They flinched at public. I didn't care. I'd spent my life being their secret. Their shame. Their condition. Now they could feel a little shame themselves. They asked if I'd drop the legal actions if they agreed. I looked at Ethan, and he answered for me. "The credit card fraud case is mine," he said calmly. "And no, I won't be dropping it." My parents were stunned. They thought a few tears and a handshake would reset everything. It wouldn't. It never would. "We'll think about it," my dad said finally. "You do that," I replied. "But I'm done being the secret." 2 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a notification. Chelsea had posted a statement. "I misrepresented some facts about my sister. I've made mistakes and I'm learning from them." It wasn't an apology. But it was proof. That same day, my parents posted a formal apology. Short, vague, but public. They emailed my company the retraction. And yes, confirmed they'd started therapy. Small steps. Too late for redemption, but enough to buy me peace. Brandon even reached out. Quietly. Privately. Said he was sorry for staying silent all those years. He wanted to understand more. I told him it would take time. As for Ethan, he and I kept talking. First it was about logistics. Then it was about family. Then, it was about us. Somewhere between the chaos and the court dates, we became something more than allies. He saw me. Not as a project, not as a problem to fix, but as a woman with fire in her gut and scars on her skin who finally stood up for herself. And it felt good. Strange. New. But good. 3 weeks after my parents' half-hearted apology and Chelsea's vague misrepresentation post, I thought the dust had finally settled. But trauma has this habit, it doesn't leave quietly. It echoes. And so did Chelsea. She showed up again. This time, not at my door, not at a dinner, not hiding behind my parents, but in my inbox, with a tone so casually venomous it made my skin crawl. "You got what you wanted. You humiliated me. You destroyed my wedding. I hope you're happy. I'll never forgive you." That last line? Good. I didn't need her forgiveness. I didn't even need her name in my life anymore. But what she said, "You got what you wanted," that stuck with me. Because honestly, I didn't even know what I'd wanted when I stood up at that dinner and told the truth. I hadn't planned to blow up my family. I just wanted to be seen. For once. But what I got instead was a purge. A scorched earth cleansing of everything fake in my life. Including them. I responded to Chelsea's message with one line. "You weren't ashamed of my skin, you were terrified I'd outshine you without hiding mine." Then I blocked her for the last time. And that was it. The final match dropped into the dry, brittle wreckage of our relationship. I didn't even watch it burn. I turned and walked the other way. Ethan's fraud case moved forward. The charges were reduced to misrepresentation and unauthorized use of financial documents, since the venue and vendors all confirmed she'd posed as him. She got probation, mandatory therapy, and had to pay restitution. Still, she spun it. Posted a statement saying, "A difficult time led to poor decisions," and she was working on herself. Cue the comments about bravery and growth and #healing. Let her have it. Meanwhile, I went back to work. My HR team, bless them, had my back. They even sent me a care package. A card that said, "To the real MVP of wedding season," and a coffee mug that read, "Not the nanny." For the first time in my adult life, I felt something wild. Safe. Ethan and I started dating officially about a month later. It was awkward at first. Everyone had an opinion. Some of his friends were skeptical. Some of mine were confused. The optics were messy, and we both knew it. But real love isn't clean. It's raw. Earned. And Ethan earned it. He didn't just support me, he amplified me. He came to my vitiligo support group with me. He introduced me to his cousin Mia, who hugged me like she'd known me forever and said, "You have no idea how much it meant to me to hear what you said." I cried in a Panera Bread that night. Ugly cried. Ethan didn't flinch. 3 months later, my dad emailed. Subject line: "Can we try again?" I didn't open it. But I didn't delete it either. Some things don't need answers. Just space. Brandon's still in my life. Slowly. Quietly. He brings his kids by sometimes, and they ask if they can draw my magic spots with chalk on the sidewalk. I let them. Because to them, it's not a defect. It's art. Funny, isn't it? The thing they all tried to hide became the thing that finally let me shine. I'm not gonna pretend I've healed completely. I still have days where I look in the mirror and hear my mom's voice in my head telling me to cover up. Days I wake up wondering if I imagined it all, if maybe I was the problem. But then I remember standing in that restaurant. Dressed like I mattered. Speaking like I deserved space. And I remember the look on Ethan's face, not pity, not discomfort. Recognition. That's when I knew I hadn't destroyed anything. I just stopped building my life in other people's shadows. And I'll never go back.